TikTok is I think there's a very easy. There is actually a very easy win, I would say, for the US on this one. Again, looking at it very simplistically, if they ban TikTok, Elon Musk doesn't have to buy TikTok. He just sets up his own, and of course he's got a bit of an open goal there, because if TikTok's banned in the US and Elon Musk comes up with his own version, the US-based version, then of course everybody's saying, well, fine, I'll just use Elon Musk as long as its functionality is the same. It doesn't matter if it says TikTok on it. He can call it Tactic. The bigger danger here really comes from the other platforms. But these platforms are so important for spreading the message of minorities. Of course, no longer do we have such a reliance on what we used to call the mainstream media. You go back 20, 30 years ago, we all got our news from the television news, really, or the radio news. Nowadays, the mainstream news is no longer, or the mainstream media is no longer the mainstream, as it's now being called. It's called the legacy media. In other words, it's a dinosaur. It's history now. But the advantage is, of course, it's a double-edged sword. The downside is, there's an awful lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of bad actors spreading bad information, misinformation, deliberate campaigns, as we've talked about on regular occasions. For example, the Hindutva bots that exist out there in the Hindutva army spreading misinformation. But the upside of this, the positive side of these unregulated or relatively unregulated platforms, is it means that minorities can get their message out there. It means that people otherwise without a voice, who were otherwise kept out of mainstream media in the old days, can now find an audience, albeit a small audience, but if their message is valid, if their message is powerful enough, it starts to grow and reach a wider audience, where otherwise they would have been blocked from reaching that global audience. And likewise, the audience is no longer restricted to the broadcast capability of a TV channel or a radio show. It's now literally global. If it's on the internet, it means the world is your audience. There is 8 billion people out there potentially, or whoever has access to the internet is your potential audience. So the world is your oyster, as they say. So I think this is almost I would say it's almost a distraction. It's almost an irrelevance banning TikTok. A lot of people clearly use it, but ultimately I think there are bigger fish to fry. I think there are bigger dangers out there that need to be looked at very carefully. I've always been very distrustful, should we say, of Silicon Valley, of the likes of Google, the likes of Facebook, Meta, because they very strongly control a narrative. We saw it through COVID. We see it regularly through elections. We certainly saw it when Donald Trump was the last president, and when he left his presidency, this tsunami of propaganda that came out, the false information, the links to Russia, etc., which were subsequently proven to be false, they were all perpetuated. All this misinformation was perpetuated across social media. Likewise, we see it with the Sikh community. There is so much misinformation.